What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. We're here at the 2016 Jay Cutler Richmond Classic, again, with the man himself, four-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler. Pleasure as always, man.
Always good to see you, man. It seems like we're always like, Jay Cutler this, Jay Cutler that. Now we're at the Richmond show, Virginia, every year. We kind of plant ourselves here. Not the final show of the season, but we're wrapping up the end of 2016, heading into Mr. Olympia. I'm excited for that, and finish off the rest of the year. Congratulations, everyone coming out. Good to see you again.
You too, man, as always. I didn't bring him any candy corn today, but it's back in the stores, so maybe at the Olympia. So today we're going to actually talk about something that is the pink elephant in the room that not many people talk about, and we've discussed it in private, and Jay was actually willing to come on camera and talk a little bit about this, and that pink elephant is drugs. I mean, Jay, why do you think it is now the youth put such an emphasis on the drugs with the sport? I mean, when we came up, it was kind of known, but not everybody was like talking about all these things and putting it out there and like put such an emphasis. I think training was more the emphasis when we started. But now it just seems like nobody even cares about training. They just want to know about drugs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the internet's the reason. I don't talk about that, but just, I think, even it's an uncomfortable subject. I mean, when I was coming up and when I first joined the gym, guys didn't go up to the gym, each other in the gym, and talk about like steroids and that kind of stuff. It was kind of like it was heard about, and I think time has progressed and people are a little more comfortable talking about it because it's more apparent nowadays. There's more talk about it just through the internet and testing in professional sports. But I know it was a really scary subject. When I heard the word steroids, it kind of made me nervous a little bit. When I first started training, and I was like, wow, I didn't want to think like that was the answer to like a lot of these guys in the magazines and everything else, because there was so much information through Flex magazine and Muscle and Fitness that I would read at that time that talked about the nutrition aspect and really wasn't talked about as much. But now you just have this kamikaze type routines that are published on the internet, which I just think is crazy. And I know as a youth coming into this into this business, I wouldn't look at bodybuilding necessarily like I did back in the day. I mean, I was just so like gung-ho about becoming a bodybuilder because I really believed that, listen, it was about nutrition and training and the dedication and the years and years of commitment to get that big. And I never thought about like the steroid aspect of it. It was scary to me.
I mean, nowadays it seems like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, back in the day, the guys that were using steroids were competitive bodybuilders. It wasn't like really the beachgoers, like few and far. Now more guys are in the gym using steroids just for the hell of it than like ever before. Like that seems to be the main thing. They're like, oh, I'm getting a gym membership tomorrow and then I'm going to start steroids like that week. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I just think it's more readily available. And listen, the quality definitely, I remember reading the steroid handbook and you'd see like these snap-off ampules that would come from Europe. And you don't see that stuff anymore. Like you see more of like the underground stuff. I think that's what anyone uses now that I run into, say, hey, have you ever seen this or that? And they show me a picture on their phone, or listen, we didn't have cell phones back then. So it wasn't like, you just couldn't see this stuff visibly. And now it's just so talked about because it's like, hey, you can click on the internet and see all this stuff. But, you have people of certain names or stature that are talking about it just wide open on the internet. So, the influence on these younger generation, they're going to think, okay, this is the answer. But it's just gone in a bad direction. I'm not an advocate of it. I don't think it's something that should be promoted in that kind of way. And I just think that the dosages that are put out there are absolutely outrageous. Honestly, it is.
Which brings me to the next question is, there's actually people, myself included when I was younger, and actually I talked to Seth Ferosi about this, he felt the same way, is you feel like once you get into the pros, you learn the secret stacks and dosages and cycles of the pros. And he was like, then he became pro, and he was like, it was ridiculous because it wasn't a fact. Like they feel like the pros have all this knowledge and this secret stuff that they don't have in the amateurs, but the amateurs are loading up with 10 times more than the pros are, and they don't look anything like them.
Yeah, it's... I just think, the guys, you remember we came from the same place. I started training and people were talking about me right away within 6 months of training, saying, oh, this kid's going to be the next big thing. I was guest posing before I was a professional. I just think, some people, the guys that are on the top, I think a lot of those guys would have had that. They had the frame and the structure and, the dedication and all those combinations, that really they would have been great anyway. I just think that now, you know, the guys are trying to be something that they'll never be. And I think that's really hurting those guys on top because it's making them seem like they're just above and beyond them as far as the drug use. And that's not necessarily the case.
So basically what you're saying is, you know, all the drugs in the world is not going to take somebody who's not going to be a top guy and turn them into a top guy.
It's just not going to happen. You have to have all the proportions and the round muscle bellies and all those kind of things. And you just have to have the willpower and the dedication. I think that's really what society is lacking nowadays in our arenas of bodybuilding, fitness, whatever it may be, is they don't have the dedication because they think that, oh, it's, you know, we can just train half-ass and not do the things because I'm just going to take more drugs or whatever. You've got to focus on the diet and nutrition aspect, and you've got to focus on being in the gym consistently and have the consistency. You can't be out partying and then, you know, it's a 24-hour-a-day thing. And I just feel that nowadays, you know, they see more of the lifestyles on social media and they think, okay, well, I can fuck off and do these kind of things and not, you know, and be as good as that other guy. And I just don't think it's actually true. I mean, I knew I lived in a box and I was very dedicated to what I was doing.
That was one of the things I remember hearing that stuff about Jay. When I first heard about him, they were talking about this kid from, they were saying Worcester at the time, but you were on Sterling.
Yeah, Sterling,
Worcester.
yeah.
And they're like, you got to see this kid. He's going to be the next best thing. And like, you know, we couldn't find him. We were going to different gyms and we couldn't find him because he was always like, he would go to the gym and then go back home and like stay there.
Yeah.
And it was like friends of friends is how I kind of found out about Jay and wound up running into him. But like nowadays, like I was telling you, I went to a barbecue. I didn't know the guy, and he just sat down next to me. He goes, "Hey, I use Tren. What do you use?" And I looked at him and I was like, "What the hell? Like that stuff didn't happen when we were younger. It just wasn't that out in the open like that."
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's just, you know, like I said, the internet has changed a lot of things. It's made people more confident to be able to discuss these kind of things. You see it openly in forums. You see top people talking about it. You know, I think realistically, people don't know the right and the wrong way. I think I always tell people, consult with a physician. You know, I know back in those days, like when I was coming up, I know the availability of steroids was not there. You couldn't just ask the average guy. There might have been a dealer here or there, but most of the people still like used a doctor's supervision to say, okay, what can I take? And everything's derivative of testosterone anyway. Right. When you start getting into like all these other names like the Trembolones and Equipoise, all this other stuff, like, you know, testosterone is your base. I mean, that's what I always tell anyone. People always ask me, hey, you know, you know, what's common out there? I mean, people talk about testosterone. I mean, that's what people have used. I mean, that's what the doctors basically prescribe. And I always tell them, like, talk to your physician, see, you know, get your levels checked. I mean, back in the day, when I was 18, people didn't talk about, getting your levels checked. I mean, a kid at that age should never even toy with their testosterone anyway. And kids at 15, 16, 17, 18, they shouldn't be toying with steroids and that kind of stuff. It's not necessary.
I usually even steer them away from supplements if they're 15, 16
years
old.
Of course.
So I'm not even, you know, maybe a whey protein and a multivitamin, but other than that, though. Jay, thanks for your time and being so candid, man. I appreciate it. I know it's a sensitive topic, and you know, if for every person that's out there giving the wrong information, I wish more people would step up and give the right information. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk about it.
Of course.
So it's always good to see you, man.
Thanks, man.
See you at the Olympia, buddy.
Yes.